Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf, which is Pesachim Chaf Aleph. We are on Chaf Amid Beis, 4 lines from the bottom of the Amid. We're in the middle of discussing a halacha that in some cases one is even permitted to be metame truma. For instance, in a case where he's about to face a major loss, if his truma wine is about to trickle down into the bottom of the wine press where there's some chulin which are tummy, in which case it's going to be a tarubas, a mixture of truma tmeir, which is unsuitable for the kohen or for the Yisrael. So in that case, it says Rabbi Yehuda, you can go collect the truma with kalim which are even tummy, in order to prevent that wine from entering the chulin on bottom and creating a hefsed merubah. Now, why is that considered a major loss? Because there's nothing to be done with wine which is tummy. You can't save it for ziluf, for sprinkling purposes, to exude aroma and good scent within the home, because that can lead to a takala, to a pitfall. As he's holding on to that wine, perhaps he'll accidentally eat it, drink it, in which case it's an isser, and therefore this wine must be disposed of immediately, and it's considered hefsed merubah. He's facing a major loss, and that justifies bimatame, that truma, before it enters the chulin and creates the hefsed merubah. Says the more 4 lines from the bottom, v'takala atzma. This very concept that, you shouldn't keep the wine around for ziluf purposes because perhaps it can lead to a takala, to pitfall. It's actually a machlokes tanoim. V'takala atzma tanoihi. The san yechavis shal yayin shal truma shenitmis. If we have a barrel filled with truma wine, which became tummy, you go spill it out, chevel, like a bundle. You spill it out all at once. Don't hold on to it at all. You can use it for ziluf. You can't consume it, you can't drink it, but you can sprinkle it throughout the home to exude an aroma throughout the home. So according to Beishamai, you have to spill it out all at once. According to Yisrael, hold on to it for ziluf. Amar Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi ani echriya. I'm going to offer a compromise. Sometimes sometimes no. Besada, if the truma became tummy out in the field, in which case he still would need to transport it to the home, and perhaps in the interim he might accidentally drink it. So in that case, besada tishafech chavel, spill it out at once, get rid of it. But bayis, however, if it happened in the home, tiasa ziluf, use it for ziluf, because there's no concern of pitfall. Ikadamri. Some say, it depends how old the wine is. We know that fresh wine is unsuitable for ziluf. It's only the aged wine which is suitable. So if it's bechadash, if it happened with new fresh wine, tishaf chavel, has to be spilled out at once, because you can't hold on to it and save it for ziluf, because you might accidentally drink it. But yashan teasa ziluf, if it's aged wine and immediately suitable for ziluf purposes, that's okay. Just use it for ziluf. So Bishmuel offered a compromise. Beishamai say, spill it out at once. Basil say you can use it for ziluf. Rabbi Shmuel says, depends. Now we know, generally speaking, when there's a machriya, there's a third approach, a compromise approach, the halacha follows that shita. But in this case, Amr Loivi, his colleagues, the Bnei Doyer, Rashi says, of Rabbi Shmuel, he was a later generation than Beishamai Basil. So they told him, no, in this case, we don't follow your hachra, your compromise. Ein hachras, shlishis machras. This is not considered a proper compromise. This is achra shlishis. It's a third approach, entirely third approach. It's a different approach to the entire topic, as Rashi explains, because we don't find anywhere within Beishamai and Basil any reference to sada, to bias. Beishamai says, spill it out, perhaps. It's because you can't use this for ziluf. We're not allowed to have enough in the reyach of the truma tmeir. And Basil say, you can use it for ziluf. We don't find any discussion about the question of accidental consumption, takala. There's no discussion whatsoever. We're not dealing with that. Whereas Rishmo comes and introduces a new concept. What about takala? Perhaps there'll be pitfall here. So it depends if it's something he has to hold on to, if he has to bring it home first, or in the second version, it's new wine that needs to be aged. Then we're concerned about takala. Otherwise, there's no concern about takala. So he is the one introducing takala to the scene. Something which the other ones didn't seem to be concerned about. So therefore, your shita is not a machriya. You're not offering a compromise. You're introducing a new concept, a new view, a new opinion, and therefore, the halacha doesn't necessarily follow your shita. But at any rate, we see that the machlekes tanoim regarding the concern of takala. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel don't seem to be concerned about it whatsoever, whereas Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, does have that concern of takala. Continues the Gemara. We discussed earlier that according to Rabbi Yeshua, one can be metame that truma wine, which is about to trickle down into the chulin tmein on bottom, because that truma won't be bottled in the chulin. We have less than 100 times the chulin as we have truma, in which case the truma won't be bottled, won't be nullified there. So you'll have a mixture of truma with chulin, and the tamei won't be consumed. Therefore, he's going to be facing a hefsed merubah. Well, Rabbi Lezer says, even in that case, you have no right. It doesn't justify being metame the truma. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Rechanina, machlokes, this whole discussion between Rabbi Lezer, who doesn't allow being metame, and Rabbi Shua says, yeah, you're facing a major loss. You can be metame that truma, which at any rate is not going to be consumed. So he allows, Rabbi Lezer doesn't allow. That machlokes is only in a case of hefsed merubah. Shenafel lepachos mimei sa'in se'ah chulin tmein. We're speaking that the sa'ah of truma, the sa'ah volume of truma, is about to trickle into chulin which don't have 100 times as much as the truma. It's less than 100 sa'ah of chulin. In which case, what happens? The truma doesn't become bottle, and you have everything which is also here. So it's a hefsed merubah. Aval nafla lemei chulin tmein. But if the truma falls into the chulin which contains the volume of the chulin is 100 times as much as the truma, what happens then? The truma is bottle, and you can drink that mixture. Even a zara, a non-kohen can drink it. So in that case, there's no hefsed merubah. He's not facing any major losses. Divrei HaKol all agree there's no justification for being metame that truma. Tered v'tetame, let the truma go down, be metame, v'ali tamena biyad, just don't be metame it directly. You have no right to be metame that truma. Let it trickle down. Anyway, it's going to become bottle, and the zar can just go and drink it. We find likewise in a brisa, chavesh nishbro b'gasal yoina, a barrel of truma wine which broke apart in the upper container of the wine press, v'tachteo meya chulin tmein, and beneath it are 100 sa'ah of chulin which are tamei, in which case the truma that enters there becomes bottle. All agree there's no reason to be metame that truma. Just let it trickle down and let a zar eat it. Moider Rabbi Lezer l'Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Shua, shem yochol yet lahatzel mimeno revius v'tahar yatzel. If he has the ability to go find a kli which is tar, which will enable him to at least salvage a revius worth of the truma wine bit tahara before it goes down to the chulin, yatzel, he must do that. So if he can run home and grab a kli tar, and come back in time to save a revius of the truma before it comes down into the chulin, then he must do that. Because the revius is a shir shtia, it's a shir chashav. But if he doesn't have that option available, he should allow the truma to go down, become tamei, va'ali tamei biyad. As long as he doesn't do it directly. You can't directly tamei the truma. So what do we see here? That unlike in the previous case, Rabbi Shua says you can go be metame the truma with your kelim tmeim, collect it there, in order to prevent it from going down to the chulin and creating an hefsed merubah. Here he doesn't allow it, and the difference is because the volume of chulin is different. In the earlier case, the chulin did not have 100 times as much as the truma, in which case the truma is not batal and create isser here. Whereas in this case, we're speaking that there is 100 times volume of chulin, 100 times as the truma, in which case the truma is batal and there's no hefsed merubah. Says the Gemara, Hi moide Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shua. Why we have a semantics issue? Why is the brisa say Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Shua that he has to save it? What do you mean? We're trying to say that a chiddush in Rabbi Yeshua, that even Rabbi Shua allows want to be matami the truma when he's facing a major loss. But in this case, where there's no hefsed meruba, because the truma will be batal, Rabbi Yehoshua agrees to Rabbi Lezer that he cannot be matami the truma directly. So why is the Brisa say Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Yehoshua? If anything, it's just the opposite. Moida Rabbi Yehoshua Rabbi Lezer meboile. The Brisa should have said that in this case, where there's no hefsed meruba, Rabbi Yehoshua agrees to Rabbi Lezer that he cannot be matami the truma. Amarava eifach. You're right. We have to switch the wording around. It is Rabbi Yehoshua who's being moida to Rabbi Lezer. There's no need to reverse the wording in the Brisa. You know what the Brisa is speaking about? What the Brisa says that Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Yehoshua, it's in reference to the first part of the Brisa. There were two parts in the Brisa. So we had the barrel of Truma broke up and is about to trickle into the Chulin. And the Brisa begins by saying, well, if you can go salvage at least a revius of that truma using a kli tor, he's meant to do so. That's the first part of the Brisa. The Brisa concludes, well, if he doesn't have that option, just let the truma trickle down, let it become tummy, and in the worst case, a zar will eat the mixture because at any rate the truma is bottled. So when the Brisa said that Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Yehoshua, it was referring to the first part of the Brisa where he has to go grab a kli tor to salvage a revius of that truma before it goes down to the chul and becomes tummy. That's what it's referring to. Hachab Ma'askinen was speaking about that he has access to a kli which is not entirely tar. Beklisha toiche tar, v'gabe tummy. The interior of the kli is tar, but not the outside. The outside is tummy. We learned this earlier. For instance, if the mashkin touched the kli from the outside, since it's only tummy to rabbanan, so it's limited to the outside, and only the gaboy is tummy, but not the inside. The chiddush is even Rabbi Lezer, who generally is very machmir when it comes to being metam truma, he says even in the case of Hesed Meruba, you always have to just let the truma, let it be. You can't be metam the truma. So what about if you have a kli which is partially tummy? Couldn't you use that to salvage your truma? Yeah. Rabbi Lezer agrees. He agrees to Rabbi Yehoshua, so to speak. He allows you to use the kli in this case, and we're not concerned about tuma. Mauda tema, perhaps I would think, nigzer. We should have a concern, Dilma, Naga, Gabe, Truma. Perhaps it's going to use this Kli, whose exterior is tummy. Perhaps the Truma will actually touch the outside. Kamash Malon. The Brisa is informing us there's no such concern. And Rabbi Lezer agrees in this case, although he doesn't allow directly to be Matami the Truma. But in this case, we're using a Kli which is Toichai Tar, the interior is Tar. Certainly you can use it. There's no concern about inadvertently touching the Truma to the Gab, the exterior portion of the Kli. Okay, so in summary, we resumed our discussion with Rabbi Yehoshua, who allows you to be Matame Truma when there's Hefsed Meruba. So, what is considered Hefsed Meruba? So, if the Yain is about to fall into Chulin, which are Tummy, and there's less than 100, the volume of the Chulin equals less than 100 times the Truma, in which case the Truma won't be Bata, and it's going to create a Hefsed Meruba in there. So, then Rabbi Yehoshua allows you to be Matame the Yain, because he's facing major loss. The wine can't be used. You can't drink it. And you can't hold on to it for zilov purposes, because it might lead to takala. You might accidentally consume that wine. Whereas when it comes to shemen, that's an entirely different story, because shemen, even if there's truma, which is tameh, that shemen is still usable. You can go ahead and burn it and light it. It's royal hadlok. So in that case, there's no hefsed meruba being experienced, and even according to be sure, there's no justification to mitame that shemen. Just let it trickle down to the chulin below, and at worst case, you use it inside your lamp. We learned today that if the yain, even yain, if it falls into chulin which contains 100 times the volume of that yain, in which case the yain is bottle, then you can use it. The zar can drink it. There's no hefsed meruba, and there's no reason to mitame the wine before it trickles down to the chul. And finally, we learned about eitzim as well. This is back in our Mishnah of Yudal, that if he's simply trying to save on firewood, that doesn't justify. And therefore, according to this approach in Rabbi Yehoshua, which is Rabbi Yosef's approach, if only hefsed meruba provides a justification, well, to salvage some firewood, that doesn't justify being mitame the truma. Therefore, he has to create a separate fire for the truma tahira and the truma tmeya. Hadran alach oir laba asar. Continues the Mishnah, kol shah shemut lechel. As long as a person is allowed to eat chametz on Erev Pesach, Machel, he can feed. He can have hana, he can feed the chametz, lebehema, lechai, leoifos. He can feed chametz to the animals and have hana by way of feeding it to them. Likewise, he can sell the chametz to a guy. And finally, he can have hana from the chametz. Once time is up, he can no longer have hana from the chametz. But as Tosfos points out, if he should decide to sell it, although he's not allowed to, but if he sells it, the money doesn't become asur. Nor should he use the chametz to fuel up the oven, the stove, because that's also considered a form of hana. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, the only way to dispose of your chametz is by way of burning. He learns this from Neisar, which is meant to be burnt. You have many options available. You can burn, af mefarer, or you can go ahead, you can even crumble up your chametz, v'zer l'ruach, and disperse it out in the wind, or toss it into the sea. Says the Gemara, kol shah shemuta lechol machal. The Mishnah says, as long as a person can still eat the chametz on Erev Pesach, you can feed it to the animals, and have hana. Ha kol shah she'einu muta lechol, einay machal. So we make an inference, a diak, that apparently at the point in time where you can no longer eat, kol shah she'einu muta lechol, einay machal, you can no longer feed to your animals as well, because that's considered hana. Apparently, the heter achila and the heter hana go hand in hand. Hana and achila synonymous. Is that true? Leima masnisen, so like Rabbi Yehuda. Apparently, our Mishnah is not following Rabbi Yehuda, who maintains that achila and hana are not synonymous. The Rabbi Yehuda, because according to him, what about the 5th hour? The eino eichel. At that point, he can no longer eat his chametz. Machal, but he can still feed it. That's not. Rabbi Omer eichel kol chametz. A person may eat chametz the first 5 hours of Erev Pesach. V'soifim et chila sheish. And at that point, right at the beginning of the 6th hour, you begin burning your chametz. So we learned this earlier because although Minat Torah it's only from Chatzos onward, but Midrabanan we're concerned about confusion with the timing and the clocks and the sundials. So according to your mayor, you stop your achila at the end of that 5th hour, so the first 5 hours you may eat, and then you begin streifa, which is an hour before Chatzos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, oichlin kol arba. You can eat 4 hours. V'toilin kol chamish. Next hour, the 5th hour, you don't eat. You're toiling. You're in limbo. You don't eat, but you can still have hana. Hana is not so stringent, it's not so severe like eating. So when it comes to achila, they advance the zman 2 hours before chatzos. But when it comes to hana, you still have an extra hour. And the streifa begins at the beginning of the 6th hour. This is agreed upon by all. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, achila extends for 4 hours, and hana is another hour. So apparently our Mishnah, which ties achila and hana together, is unlike Shitas Rabbi Yehuda, rather following Shitas Rabbi Meir, who puts together achila and hana. They're both up until the 5th hour. Says the Gemara, is that so? Ve'elamai Rabbi Meir. So you're going to suppose that our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir, that the achila and hana go together, and that's why the Mishnah begins by saying, Kol shah shemuta lechol machal. As long as one may eat chametz, he can feed. Because feeding and eating are synonymous. They both end at the end of the 5th hour. If that's the case, says the Gemara, Ve'elamai Rabbi Meir. So what are we going to say? Our Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. The wording of the Mishnah would be problematic according to him. Hai kol shah shemuta lechol machal. Why does the Mishnah insert the word mutter? Kol shah shemuter lechol machal. As long as a person is allowed to, he has a heter achila, he can feed. Just delete that word mutter. Kol shah shoichel machal mebayli. Mishnah should have simply said, as long as you can eat, you can feed. The word mutter seems to be implying that we're speaking about two different people. As long as Reuben can eat, Shimon can feed. So how does this work according to Rabbi Meir? Omar Rabba Bar Ula, you're right. Mas Nisan Rabban Gamliel. Actually, our Mishnah is following Shittas Gamliel, who gives us two separate and distinct time zones. We have the time for the Yisrael with his chulin, up until 4 hours. And we have the Kohen who can eat for an additional hour. Because Truma is something which we don't want to ruin unnecessarily. We give an extra hour for that. Chulin, you must conclude at the fourth. Truma kol chamesh. With regards to truma, you have another hour to eat it. V'sarva mitchila sheish, and the streifa begins at the beginning of the sixth. V'achei ka'amar, and this is what the Mishnah means to say. Kol shemuter le'echol koyin v'truma. As long as the koyin can still eat his truma, meaning up until and including the fifth hour, Yisrael machel chul lebehema l'chaya v'la'ifais. Up until that point, the Yisrael can feed his behema, his chaya, and his birds. So you're right. We're following Rabbi Gamliel. The Yisrael can only eat up until the fourth hour. But Hana, with regards to Hana, we give him an extra hour. And that actually concurs with the Zman Achila of the Truma for the Kohen. So during the fifth hour, when the Kohen can still eat his Truma, the Yisrael can still have Hana from his Chulin. So that's what the Mishnah says. Kol shah shemut lechel machel. Kol shah shemut lechel means as long as somebody can eat, the Kohen can still eat his Truma, meaning during that fifth hour. What happens then? The chametz is still mutar hana even for the Yisrael. Machel lebehema l'chayv l'oifes. This is alluding to the Yisrael. So in summary, our Mishnah is following Rabbi Gamliel, and the Yisrael can eat his chulin up until the fourth hour. Truma can be eaten for an additional hour, and during that additional hour, which is the fifth hour, the Yisrael may also have hana from his chametz. Says one more point. Why does the Mishnah specify he can feed his behema, his domesticated animal, his chaya, his wild animal, his oifos, his fowl? What's the point of discussing this entire list? Lo meli lemisna behema. Why does the Mishnah mention behema and then lo meli lemisna chaya? Why does the Mishnah have to add chaya as well? Tzricha, both are needed. Both contain a chiddush element. Ditana behema. If you would only mention behema, I would say there's not much concern about feeding the chametz to the behema right before Pesach. Di meshayra chazila, because it is not the practice of the behema to go hide his food. He eats, and whatever he leaves over, you see. So it's something that's going to be visible, and you'll get rid of it before Pesach. Aval chaya. But when it comes to an animal, actually says like a chulda, a mia, a cat, a weasel, di meshayra kamasnala, because this type of animal, when he leaves something over, he is accustomed to hiding things for later reference. So in that case, perhaps there's a concern. We should be allowed to feed him because he might hide some chametz. So that's why the Mishnah tells us, yeah, you can even feed a chaya. Vitana chaya, if the Mishnah would only mention chaya, I would say, well, mishum de mishayra mias matzna, because even if the animal leaves some over, at least he hides it. It's out of sight, and there's no issur bal yirah, although bal yimatzah there is, but not bal yirah. Avo behema, but when it comes to a behema, which doesn't tend to hide his leftovers, zimna de mishayra, perhaps he'll leave some over, and it's going to be plainly visible. And he won't realize, he won't be mindful of his chiyuv to be mavatal it. What's going to happen then? And the end result will be that he will be faced with two isurim. Not only bal yimatzeh because of the presence of chametz, but bal yirah as well because it's plainly visible. Tosfos actually learns that in the case where the animal hides it, there's no issur whatsoever. Even bal yimatzeh doesn't apply because he doesn't know about it. So according to Tosfos, when the animal hides it, there's no issur whatsoever. When the behema, concerned the behema won't hide it, in that case he'll have an issur because it's going to be in front of him, he'll know about it, and perhaps he'll forget about doing bittul. So he'll get an issur. According to Rashi, the animal's hiding the chametz prevents him from being over and bal yirah, because he's not actually seeing it, but bal yimatzeh he will have. But when it comes to behema, there's an added concern because perhaps he'll leave it out in plain view, in which case not only bal yimatzeh will apply, but even bal yirah. And perhaps he shouldn't feed his behema tzricha. So Mishnah tells us there's no such concern. We're not worried about these concerns. Feed your behema, your chaya, without any concern. Okay, that's the case. You understand behema and chaya. Each one has a chiddush, because the animal might leave some over. The behema might leave something over in plain view. But oifay islamally, why does the Mishnah mention birds? Says you're right, there's no chiddush, but it's merely due to the fact that it mentions behema and chaya. I did the ton of behema and chaya. On account of mentioning behema and chaya, tananami oifais, the Mishnah completed the entire list and added oifais to the list. Continues the Gemara. Umaychel nachri. So he can feed his animals because he can have hana, and can also sell to the guy. Says from a pshita, isn't that pashut? Isn't that self-evident? It's just another form of hana. Why would I think he can't sell to a guy when it's still at the point when you can derive benefit from it? The Mishnah is coming to exclude from the following shita the sanya b'shamei oimrim lo yimkar adam chametz el nachri. A person may not sell his chametz to a guy before Pesach. Ella im kain yodei boy sheyichla kodim Pesach, unless he knows with certainty that this chametz will be consumed before Pesach. Says Rashi, 2 lines from the bottom, kodim sheyava Pesach, he must make sure the chametz is gone before Pesach. Because Savri, because Beishami hold a chiddush. Mitzvah olav levarim in oilam. There's a mitzvah of tashpisu. A person must negate, nullify. He must get rid of the chametz before Pesach. V'lo sheikayim. He must ensure the chametz is no longer in existence during Pesach. So even if he's going to sell it to a guy and it's the guy's property, he has not been mekayim his mitzvah of tashpisu, according to Beishami. More soon will tell us that apparently we're speaking within 30 days of Pesach, in which case it's already the zman where you're meant to prepare for Pesach and ensure that all the halachas of Pesach are being complied with and fulfilled. So you can't sell at this late moment, at this late time here, Erev Pesach. You can't sell to a guy. Ubisel Oimrim says the Gemara, yeah, you could. Kol shosha mutalechel mutalimkar. As long as you can eat, you can sell. It's not yours. It's not your responsibility. So the Mishnah here is teaching us that we're following Basil, and you can sell to a guy even right before Chatzos, as long as it's out of your possession by the time Pesach arrives. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira Omer, so he's following Shittas Beis Shammai, and he says you must make sure that the chametz is consumed and is no longer in existence during Pesach. Kutach, this is some type of dip which contained breadcrumbs, kutach, v'chol minei kutach, all these types of kutach, also limko shlashim yom kagna Pesach. One may not sell them to a guy within 30 days of Pesach. Let's see Rashi on top. Rabbi Yehuda Omer kutach, noisnim by pirur lechem, so they would put breadcrumbs in there, v'asam shem chametz. So you can't sell it shloishim yom, 30 days before Pesach. The svilek Beis Shammai, because Rabbi Yehuda is following Beis Shammai shita. You must make sure that it's consumed before Pesach arrives. And kutach is something which is consumed very slowly. It's not eaten quickly. It's not directly eaten, but it's just used as a dip. So when it comes to kutach, within 30 days is a problem, because not necessarily it will be consumed before Pesach. How do we get to the point of 30? It says Rashi, at that point, the chayvas beer chametz has descended upon the person, because 30 days is the preparatory period for Pesach, when they begin asking and expounding on the halachas of Pesach. So you have a chiyuv to ensure that the halachas are complied with, are fulfilled, and therefore at that point, make sure don't sell your chametz unless you know that it will be consumed by the time Pesach comes along. Continues the Gemara. Umutter b'hana, so you can feed it to your animals, you can sell it to a guy, and have hana. Pshita, what do you mean? Of course. We just said you can have hana, you can feed it, you can sell it to a guy. Well, apparently we're speaking about a unique case. He charred, he scorched, he partially burnt the chametz before the Zman Isser, and rendered it inedible. Taisa says it's actually possible even for it's inedible even for a dog. So since it's so severely burnt, it doesn't even have a din of chametz. And the chiddush of the Mishnah is that he can derive benefit from this type of burnt chametz even on Pesach itself. The Mishnah is informing us like Rabbis did. If a person burnt, charred the chametz before the zman, mutar b'hano afilu lachar zman. In that case, he can have enough from this chametz even after the zman, even after chatzos, even on Pesach. We don't regard it as chametz, and that's what the chiddush of the Mishnah is. mutar b'hana is referring to Pesach itself. You can have hana. How can you have hana from chametz? Well, he charred it before Pesach. In that case, we no longer treat it as chametz, and you can enjoy it on Pesach. Continues the Gemara. Over zman asur b'hanasei. So once time passed, you can no longer have hana. Says when pshita, isn't this obvious? Now, actually, Rashi deletes the word pshita because he says it's not so pashut that chametz is asur b'hana even on Pesach. We're going to learn later. There's a shita that disagrees with that. So Rashi deletes the word pshita. Rather, the Gemara here is addressing the seeming repetition in the Mishnah. We learned that up until the point of heter achila, you can have hana, which implies that, well, once that zman is over, you can no longer have hana. So what's the point of the Mishnah repeating itself? Yeah, avar zman asur b'hanasei, after zman you can no longer have hana. What's the point? Says the Gemara, apparently we're speaking about the zman derabbanan. You're right, after chatzos you can have hana. The chiddush is, even during the 6th hour, even then, one can no longer derive benefit from the chametz. That's the Mishnah here is informing us. The Mishnah says, as long as you can eat, as long as it's mutar b'achila, you can have the hana. We're speaking about the shoyos d'Rabbanan, way before chatzos. The Mishnah continues, but once that zman is over, the 6th hour has arrived. It's still an hour before chatzos. It's only from the Rabbanan, but at that point you may no longer have hana. We're speaking about the zman achila d'Rabbanan. So after the zman d'Rabbanan, you can no longer have hana. Damar Gidlam Rav Chia Bar Yosef Amar V'ich Hamakalish Mishei Shoyos Lamal. If a person uses chametz once the 6th hour has arrived, where it's asam d'Rabbanan, afilu b'chidei kurdenaisa, even if he uses the tough, hard wheat from the chidei kurdenaisa from Kurdistan, where the teva landed over there, so it's hard, tough wheat, and water came onto this wheat, was spilled on the wheat, in which case there's a concern about chametz. Even the hard wheat still poses a concern of chametz. So if he should choose to use this type of chametz, even during the 6th hour when the Isser is only d'Rabbanan, ein choshish in the kedushin, we don't give any credence to his fellow's kedushin, because it's also b'hana d'Rabbanan, and you can't use something which is asa b'hana to be mekadosh isha. It's no longer considered yours. You don't have any practical connection to it. So therefore, it's not a kedushin. And the question is, how could the Isser hana d'Rabbanan undo a kedushin, which is a deraisa? So Rashi earlier in the Masechta explains, because whenever a person approaches a marriage, we say Kedas Moshe B'Yisrael, it's done based on the mindset of the Chachamim. And in this case, they undid the Kedushin. They consider this to be no longer owned by this person. It's asabano, and therefore the Kedushin was never activated. Continues the Gemara. So the Mishnah continues and says, well, you can't have any form of hana, including using it for fuel. In the Tanner and the Kirayim, Pshita, of course, isn't this just another form of hana? Rabbi Yehuda, apparently the Chiddush is according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says the Amar Ein Bir Chametz Al Shreifa. The proper way of disposing of chametz is only one. There's only one way of doing it, through burning. So perhaps this person who's burning is involved in doing the mitzvah of destroying his chametz by way of burning. Perhaps I would say, Hoyel var Rabbi Yehuda, mitzvah sebestreifa, since Rabbi Yehuda tells us that the only way to burn the chametz, the mitzvah, is through streifa. Perhaps, as he's engaged in the process of destroying the chametz, he can have a gnaw from it, from the fire, from the heat emanating from this burnt chametz being destroyed. Kamashma, the Mishnah informs us, no, you can't have a gnaw even during the burning process. So the hava amina would be, well, you cannot have a hana from the chametz, which is in existence, the chametz which is present, but when he's engaged in destroying the chametz, perhaps that's not called having hana from the actual chametz, rather from the destruction, from the beer of the chametz, and that wouldn't be included in the Isser hana. And the Chiddush is even according to Rabbi Yehuda, where streifa is the mitzvah, perhaps that would allow hana during the streifa. The Chiddush is, no, you can't even have hana in this manner. Okay, So getting back to our Mishnah said, Kol Shah Shemut Lechel Machel. Let's break down the Mishnah into parts. So the first part of the Mishnah, which indicates that we're speaking about two different people, right? Kol Shah Shemut Lechel. This is referring to the Kohen who can eat his truma during the 5th hour. So during that 5th hour, Machel, this is in reference to the Yisrael, who's allowed to be Machel, although he himself can't eat the chulin, but he can still have enough, feed the chulin, feed the chametz to his animal. The Gemara says, our Mishnah apparently is following Rabbi Gamliel, who holds that there's a shah chamishis, where the Yisrael can no longer eat, but the Kohen can have his truma. At that point, the Yisrael can still have anah from his chametz as well. Mishnah says you can feed a behema. The chiddush there is, even though there's perhaps a concern that he might leave some over and you might actually see it, because he doesn't trouble to hide his chametz. So perhaps he'll see it, he'll have the avera by Rabbi Matzah. We're not concerned. The Mishnah says you can feed an animal as well. The chiddush there is that perhaps he's going to leave some over and hide it, in which case you'll be unaware of the presence of chametz in your home. The Mishnah says you can sell to a guy, and the chiddush is here, following Beis Hillel, that there's no concern with the chametz actually being present somewhere in the world during Pesach, and even within 30 days, you can sell to a guy. It's no longer yours, and no longer your responsibility. The Mishnah says, Mutabana Asa. What's the chiddush here? And even having an after the Zman is mutter if he was he charred it, in which case it's no longer edible. That allows hana even during Pesach. We learned that after the Zman, you can no longer have hana. The chiddush is even during the 6th hour, it's only Asr Midrabanan. And finally, you can't use it to fuel up the Tana B'Kirayim. And the chiddush is even according to Rabbi Yehuda that Sreifa is required. You cannot have hana even during the Shas Sreifa. Continues the Gemara. Amar Chizkiya Menayin L'chametz Pesach Asur Hana. Working with the concept that chametz is Asur Hana on Pesach. How do we know that? The pasuk doesn't clearly speak about Isra Hana. Shenemar Lo Ya'achal Chametz. The pasuk says Lo Ya'achal Chametz. Chametz should not be eaten. Instead of saying don't eat, Lo Ya'achal, Lo Ya'achal, Lo Ya'achal. He's coming to teach us Lo Yahei Bo Yeter Achila. There shouldn't be any achila resulting from the chametz. So that includes even hana, because you can take the chametz and sell it and use that money to buy food. Chametz cannot present any eating, cannot bring about achila. And we learn from here that you can't even have hana from your chametz. Let's take a look at Rashi inside. So if we drop down 2 lines from where we're holding in the Gemara, Rashi begins with the word lo yach. Mida karina lo yeachal. Since we read lo yeachal, what does that teach us? Mashma lo yeheboy heter hamevi leishum achila. You can't have any use from it. Anything that brings to achila. Bestam hanois leachila in boys. We presume that hana will bring to achila. Shalakech b'dam and dvar machal, because by selling, by making money off the chametz, he can actually produce achila. He can buy with it a dvar machal. So lo ye'achal comes to include even isra hana. So that's Chizkiya's approach. Says the Gemara, Tama the kasav rachmana lo ye'achal chametz. That's only because the pasuk said lo ye'achal. As Rashi explains, the nekuda, the reading lo ye'achal indicates that it's more than just eating. You can't even cause achila. And that includes hana as well. So that's only because we have lo ye'achal chametz. Ho lo kasav lo ye'achal. But if the Torah would have not said lo ye'achal, would have said lo soichlu, then it would not have included hana. Hava amina, I would think, isra achila mashma. It only implies isra achila, isra hana lo mashma, but it doesn't include hana. That's Chizkiya's approach. Uplika the Ravo. Apparently Chizkiya is in dispute of a Ravo's chiddush. Ravo's din. Damar Ravo kol makam shenema lo yachal lo soichal. Any type of reference to eating in the Torah, whether lo yachal, even lo soichal, even lo soichal. Echad isra achila, ve'echad isra hana mashma. It includes everything, eating and hana. Apparently Ravo holds that even hana is a form of achila, it's a form of consuming the item. So you don't need lo ye'achal in specific. Any reference to isra achila automatically will include hana, unless the Torah goes out of its way and tells her, well, you can have the hana. But the stam loshan of achila includes hana as well. Unless the Torah specifically specifies that you can have hana. As we find by the nevela, where the Torah used the word achila there, but then went out of its way to tell you you can have hana from the nevela. You can sell it, you can gift it. So that teaches us. Why does the Torah have to go out of its way to tell you can have hana? Doesn't that teach you that otherwise it would be also because achila includes hana as well? So nevela provides a source for Rabbi Avo's chiddush, that any reference to achila includes hana as well. Where do we find this concept by nevela? The sanya. Lo seichlu kol nevela. So we're not meant to eat the nevela. Rather, the Torah provides two channels of disposing the nevela. Leger asher b'sharecha tetnena ve'achla. You can give it to the ger who lives within your gateways. So Rashi explains we're speaking about a ger toishav, a fellow who committed to abstain from avodah zarah, but he's not a full-fledged ger. He keeps the mitzvah, sheva mitzvahs v'noyach, but can still eat nevelos. So the pasuk says, you give it to him as a gift, or you machal anachar, or if you wish, you sell it to a guy. Okay, so we see clearly that the pasuk, although the pasuk just said lo yisaychlu, not lo yachal, just lo yisaychlu, the pasuk had to go and explain itself and say, well, you can actually sell it and have hana. Continues the brayso. So the pasuk says you can gift it to the ger, give it to matana to the ger, or if you wish, sell it to the nachri. Ainli ela leger benasina. So this would imply that perhaps you must follow these directives. Only to the ger benasina, meaning you can't sell it to the ger. You have to give it to him as a gift. If you wish to sell it, you can only do it to the nachri. How do we know that you can mix a match? That all options are open? How do we know that you can actually sell it to the ger? Perhaps the Torah wants you to give it to him as a gift. Talmud Loimar, the pasuk says, the fact that the pasuk begins with reference to the ger, concludes with reference to the goy, and in the middle we have matana, we have mechira. Leger asher b'sharecha titznana, v'achala oy macher l'nachri. So it begins with ger, ends with nachri, and in the middle we have matana and mechira. Says the Gemara, we're going to use a drasha to apply both options to both individuals. You can give it as a gift or sell it to a ger, and likewise you can do the same to a goy. You can give it as a gift to the ger, or if you wish you can sell it. So stop right there. So both options are available for the ger. Continues the Gemara. What about the nachri? How do we know that you can actually give it as a gift to a guy as well? If you take a look at the pasuk, perhaps you can derive that no, only mechira to nachri is okay, but not nesina, because the pasuk says oy machal nachri. Says well, no, that's not the case. Talmud loymar titnena v'achala, you can give it to him and have him eat it, oy machar nachri, or sell it to the guy. So once again, we apply both options to the nachri as well. So you conclude from here that all options are open. Echad ger, echad nachri, whether a ger or nachri, you can choose either method. Bebe mechira, bebe nasina, you can sell it or as a gift. Divrei Meir. So according to Rameir, there are no restrictions. You can sell it, you can give it matana to a ger or to a guy. Rabbi Yehuda no, devarim kichsavan. The words are very precise. You must follow the wording of the pasuk as stated. To a ger you can't sell. You have to give it to him as a present. If you're dealing with a guy, you can't give it as a matana. Rabbi Yehuda holds one is not allowed to give a matnas chinam to a guy. So if you're giving it to a guy, you have to specifically sell it. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. What is the basis of Rabbi Yehuda's approach? Why doesn't he agree with Rabbi Meir that both options can be applied to both sides of the pasuk? The pasuk began discussing a ger, concluded with a nachri. In the middle, we have both options. Perhaps you can apply both options to the ger and to the goy. Why is Rabbi Yehuda restrictive here? Says the Gemara, Isaka daitach kadara mir. Rabbi Yehuda figures like this: if the pshat, the correct approach in the pasuk, is in accordance with Rabbi Meir, that the middle part of the pasuk, discussing sale and gifting, is meant to be applied to both individuals. Lichtav rachmana leger asher b'sharecha titnana ve'achala u'machar. Why does the pasuk have the word oy inserted right in the middle there? The pasuk should delete the word oy. Rather, it should say leger asher b'sharecha titnana ve'achal u'machar, and then continue and say u'machal l'nachri. In that case, we would apply the nesina and the mechira to the ger, who was stated in the beginning of the pasuk, and to the nachri, which is right after. Oy lamali. Why does the pasuk insert the word oy to split things? Shmamino, we derive from here l'dvarim kichsavim. The pasuk here is teaching us that we want to follow the instructions precisely. So leger asher b'sharecha titnana v'achala. Stop right there. To ger, you give it as a matana. Oy machal nachri. That's a new concept. To a guy, you sell it, but you can't mix and match, because otherwise the pasuk should have just stated it all together as one run-on sentence. Why the word oy right in the middle of the nesina and the mechira? Apparently, nesina is a reference to the ger, and the mechira to the guy. So what does Rabbi Meir do with the oy? Oy is coming lahagdim, to teach us that we're meant to proceed, meant to give precedence, priority. That if you're faced with a choice, should I give it to the ger b'matana or sell it to the guy? I can make some money. The Torah tells us the nesina to the ger takes precedence over the mechir to the guy. Why? Why is a person meant to give it away for free and lose the opportunity to sell his item? Says Tosfos in the Zohar, because it's an item of little value to the Yisrael, just an avela, whereas to the ger toishav on the receiving end, this is a full meal, it's something of value. So the Torah requires you to give it to the ger b'matana rather than selling it to the guy. But generally speaking, theoretically, both options are open. You can give it or sell it to the guy or to the ger. Rabbi Yehuda says, well, this precedence we could just figure out on our own. We don't need the oy to come teach you that. Rather, the oy is coming to tell you, be specific in your channel of disposition. Give it to the ger, sell it to the guy. Because preference, that we know on our own. Rabbi Yehuda, we don't need a pasuk to tell us that we're meant to give it as a gift to the ger rather than sell it to the guy. Because when it comes to a ger, a person is obligated to be mechayah to support a ger. Rashi brings a pasuk, v'chai imach, you want to support him. As opposed to the guy where you have no responsibility to support him. You're not mitzvah to be machayah to support the guy financially. So there's no pasuk needed for that. Svaru, it's a plain simple logic that you're meant to support the ger. Preferably, give it to the ger matana to support him rather than sell it to the guy. Okay, so regarding an avela, we have a machlekes. How is one meant to dispose of his nevela? We have two channels. We have the ger, toisha, we have the guy. Rameir says, we're not restricted. You can give it a matana, you can sell it to either one, to the ger or the guy. But, of course, you're meant to give preference to the matana of the ger. For instance, if he's not interested in buying it, and the guy is, you have to give it to the ger rather than sell it to the guy. Which Rabbi Yehuda says, dvarim kichsava. You can only give it as a matana to the ger, you can't sell it to him. And you can only sell it to the guy, you can't give it to matana to a guy. And according to Rabbi Yehuda as well, the nesina of the ger precedes the mechir of the guy. Okay, getting back to our topic, Ravo says, I will prove from nevela that any reference to eating, lo soichel, in the Torah includes hana as well. Look, the Torah had to go and give you a heter hana. You can sell it, you can give it. Apparently, it's because lo soichlu by nevela includes hana as well. It's also a form of consumption. And that's why the Torah had to go out of its way and allow hana. And that is Ravo is right. That generally speaking, any reference to achila includes hana. Says the Gemara, but 1 second. This works according to Rabbi Meir, that the pasuk here is not actually being restrictive. It's allowing any form of disposing. You can give it, sell it to the goy, to the ger. So apparently the pasuk is simply coming to tell us, look, generally speaking, you wouldn't be allowed to even have anah because lo soichel includes everything. Here there's a special heter, you can have anah. So yeah, according to Rabbi Meir, nevela is a good source for this concept. Bishlam the Rabbi Meir, the Amar, echad ger vechad nachri, beibin mechira, beibin asina. Whether to a ger or to a goy, you can sell it, you can give it as a present. So yeah, so now nevela forms a source for a Ravo's concept. Maybe it's rekra l'mishum nevela ba'anah. The fact that the pasuk had to go out of its way to allow you to have anah from nevela, doesn't that teach you something? Apparently all the other isurin in the Torah are asurin bein ba'achila, bein anah, are asur in achila and anah. Why then would the Torah have to spell out an allowance, a hana allowance by nevela? It only says lo soichlu. It doesn't say hana. Apparently lo soichlu always includes hana as well. So we have a right from here that lo soichlu includes hana and is the right to revolt. That's according to Rabbi Meir. Elo the Rabbi Yehuda. The problem is according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar l'dvarim kichsavan hudasa. The Torah here is being restrictive and saying, well, you have to follow these instructions. You have to give it to the ger and sell it to the goy. You can't reverse matters. So here the Torah is being restrictive. So you have no raya from nevela to the Ravo's chiddush. Perhaps whenever the Torah says le'seichel, Isra hana is not included. Why did the Torah have to spell out selling and gifting? Because the Torah wanted to actually restrict things. No, don't do what you want. You have to sell it to the goy and gift it to the ger. So according to him, we have no raya. Hakol isurin shebetorah menole de asurin b'anah. So how do you know this concept that all other isurim in the Torah are asav anah? Says when we have another pasuk. Nafkale, we learn it from the pasuk of treifa. Says animal has a serious wound. It's asav b'achila. What do you do with it? The Torah says le'seichel, you can't eat it. Rather, you give it to the dog. This is a reward for his keeping quiet when the Yisrael left Mitzrayim. So that's the pasuk. We learn it from the pasuk which says, send it out to the dog. And the pasuk has the word oisai here, which is a miyut. Oisai atamashlich hakelev. This treifa you can toss out to the dog. You can have anah. V'atamashlich hakelev kol yisurin shebetorah. However, you can't do the same with respect to other yisurin shebetorah, which are asav anah. So this is Rabbi Vo's raya, that even though the Torah only used the word le'seichel, apparently in Isra Achila is included Isra Hana, so only the treifa can be fed to the dog, but other Isurim not. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir. Okay, so Rabbi Meir, who already had a different source, what does he do with the word oisai? He uses it for something else. Oisai atamashlich hakelev. This treifa you can feed to the dog. V'atamashlich hakelev chulin shenishchatu b'azara. If somebody shechts a non-kachim behema in the azara, it's asur, even b'hana, and you can't feed it to the dog. Says Rabbi Idach, so what does the other man da'ama do? He already used the word oisei. How does he know that chulin shenishchatu b'azara is asur b'hana? Chulin shenishchatu b'azara lam da'raisei. He disagrees with the whole concept. He says Torah, there's no isar hana applied to chulin shenishchatu b'azara. Okay, so in conclusion, we learned that when the pasuk says lo yei achel, all agree that isra hana is included. However, if the pasuk only says lo yisaycha, then we have a machlekes. According to Chizkiah, it only includes isra achila. According to Ravo, even isra hana is included. How do we know? Either from the fact that the Torah had to allow hana by nevela, or because the pasuk says oislay by treifa, only this can provide hana, but not other isurim. Okay, time for a brief chazara of today's daf. We began discussing the exact definition of hefsed meruba. According to Rabbi Yeshua, we proceeded with the Mishnah. Kol shah shemut lechol. As long as the kohen can eat, the Yisrael can feed his animal, can feed the behema, the chaya, and there's no concern about leaving over and doing yisurim. One can sell his chametz to a guy even close to Pesach. This is in accordance with Beis Hillel. It's out of your possession. It's not your concern. One can have anah even on Pesach from chametz, which was deemed inedible before Pesach. After the Zman D'Rabbanan, meaning during the 6th hour, you can't even have anah. And finally, you can use the chametz to fuel up his tanor. And the chiddush is, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to go burn the chametz. You can't even have anah during the Shas Reifa. We concluded with the source of Isar Anah of chametz. Chizkiah says, Lo yei achel, is coming to teach us. You can't even have anah. Whereas Ravo says, just plain reference to achila, to Isra achila, automatically includes Isra Anah as well.